Hey everyone, and welcome to our family meeting where we will be discussing the urgent needs for the improved pay and working condition for caregivers, as well as better access to caregiving, particularly focusing on our family members in the Black community. Now, my name is Loni Love. Today, I am joined by some fascinating people. I got the right people for this conversation. First of all, President of Service Employees International Union, April Verrett, co-founder of Black Lives Matter, and I just think she's an overall dope girl, Alicia Garza, the U.S. representative for New York's 16th Congressional District, Jamaal Bowman, and one of my sisters. She's an actor, she's an activist, and she's just cool, Yvette Nicole Brown. Welcome, everybody.
Thanks, Loni.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Now, the way we're going to do this is a family meeting, so we don't have to be formal. Just get in where you fit in, all right? Now, let's start with you, Yvette. What do you see as the most urgent care issue in the Black community?
Well, I'm a caregiver myself. I take care of my dad. I think in our families, in our community, we don't send people to homes. We have grandma and grandpa, auntie, whoever is going through a personal crisis in the house with us. And so I think there needs to be more help in general. I think that there needs to be more federal help. I think there needs to be more help within our communities to check on each other, because what I've found is that self-care is the biggest issue when you're a caregiver.
Can I just say that Yvette has been doing a wonderful job being a caregiver. I've been going through this journey with her. And so this is the reason why we wanted her on the panel, somebody firsthand that's actually caregiving and still doing a full-time job. So thank you, Yvette, for being here. Alicia, what about you? What is the most urgent thing right now when it comes to caregiving in the Black community?
I think it's making sure that caregivers are being subsidized. So many of us, you're absolutely right, Yvette. I was a caregiver for my mother when she was dying of brain cancer. And luckily, I was in a work environment that was very flexible. But for so many of us, that's just not the case. And when we are caregiving and caregiving full time, we're having to either step away from our jobs and try to figure out how to supplement that income, or we're stretching ourselves thin trying to do both and trying to bring in other resources just on our spirit, right? But in our pocket. And so I think the most urgent issue is make caregivers and caregiving is subsidized. So if you can't leave your job, at least you have resources to help supplement other family members, other relatives, other community members who are helping you fill the gaps.
Congressman Bowman, what are your views on this?
So I agree with everything that's been said. I lost my mom to COVID on Valentine's Day of this year. And prior to that, thank you. And prior to that, she was struggling with kidney failure and some cognitive issues. So I'm an only son. I have three sisters. We all came together to figure it out. And it really is a process of figuring it out. It's just so overwhelming, the paperwork, the phone calls, the reimbursement, all of that stuff is just incredibly overwhelming. And we're all educated people, right? Quote unquote educated. And we struggle to navigate the system. So making the system more efficient and streamlined, making sure those who are providing care receive care as well in terms of mental health, that's a big piece. And then in care workers, they're still earning poverty wages. They're not in union for the most part. They do not have universal health care themselves. So it's a system that has been neglected and broken for a very long time.
So, okay, you the congressman. Tell us what are they gonna do? What they doing?
So one of the things we did in our office very early on was we introduced something called the Care for All agenda. It's a care resolution looking to invest $400 billion in the care economy, specifically focused on home care for our seniors who are most vulnerable. So that is a big deal. And Biden has pushed to include that as part of the current reconciliation package. So if everything goes well, you're going to see a lot of resources coming into the care economy and focusing on care for our seniors. But it's not just care, it's prescription drug prices, it's affordable housing, it's food security. All of this is part of a caring economy. It's not just seniors, it's our children, our babies, it's nursing, it's education, it's the environment, it's all of the above. So fingers crossed, organize out there, please. Let's push this $3.5 trillion care reconciliation package, and hopefully we can be reborn as an economy centered and rooted in care.
If we're going to build back better, then we better be building back with caregivers in mind. We can't do it alone, and we know how much caregivers give us the opportunity to make this country a better place.
Care can't wait, because passing policies that will lift care workers up will lift all of us up.
Care can't wait, because investing in care advances racial and gender justice, two things this country has ignored for far too long, and the bill is due.
We want to make sure that that work is rewarded, that that work receives the better pay, the better wages, the better benefits, and the better working conditions. And we're not going to rest until we achieve that reality here in Washington, D.C.
Care can't wait, because women of color, Black and brown women in this country, they saved our democracy. They carried us through this pandemic on the front lines. It is time for us to show up for their needs. It is time for us to be the infrastructure and support to make work and care possible and this economy thrive.
We need to improve the lives and the earnings and the salaries of those who are home caregivers.
Caregivers are the backbone of our economy, and I know because I was one, and it's time to raise the wage for caregivers and get all paid work leave.
Everyone deserves the freedom to make economic decisions that are best for them and their family. Everyone deserves parental leave. Everyone deserves adequate health care. Let's build back better, because care can't wait.
Yvette, can you talk a little bit more about your experience as a caregiver?
Yeah, my dad has dementia. We all found out in like 2012. I was on a show called Community at the time, and knew that I needed to get him. He was back in Ohio, but again, like Alicia said, I was working. And so it's like, how do I take care of my dad in another state and make sure that he has what he needs? At the same time, I have to fulfill this contractual role that I have on the show. So the show got canceled by NBC. I immediately, 3 days later, was in Ohio packing my dad up, moving him out. And he was with me. And then the show got picked up by another streaming service. And so I had to go to Sony and Dan Harmon and beg for them to release me from the contract. And that's why I'm not in the last season of Community. I had to choose to leave my job to care for my dad, because the demands of the job would not allow me to put in the time with my dad. So, and I don't regret it. It was the best decision I've ever made. I've had him with me, 8 or 9 years now. And we doing all right. He's hanging in there, and he remembers me every day. And because it's dementia, I know one day I will go in and he doesn't. But as long as I go in and go, "Hey, Daddy," and he goes, "Hey, Yvette," is a good day. And you just do what you have to do. And as Black people, and especially as Black women, that's what we've always done. You just do what you have to do. And the biggest hurdle that I've had is my mother was my go-to when something happened with work, and I lost my mom this year. So it kind of threw everything into another, spin. But we are figuring it out, and we will continue to figure it out. And it's a good opportunity to learn who is actually there for you, who will step in for you. But they need to be paid. They need to be paid. I have an amazing assistant that moved into my house for 2 months. So I'm paying her as an assistant. I didn't pay her to be a caregiver. So I then had to figure out, how can I compensate this woman for giving up her life for 2 months for my family? So these are the things that, if we had a safety net on the federal level, we wouldn't have to scramble like we have to scramble.
Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing. Alicia, can you talk about your experience with caregiving?
Absolutely. Well, 3 years ago, my mom was diagnosed with brain cancer, and it was so fast, 7 weeks from diagnosis to death. And we had to figure out all kinds of things. I mean, my mom was such an organized, on top of it person. She ran the household. She ran our family business. And of course, she tried to run my life too, which is her job. But when my normally very organized and on top of it mother was putting towels in the refrigerator rather than in the cabinet, we had to act quickly. And I will tell you, I was so grateful to be able to spend almost every single day of that 7 weeks with her by her side. I was grateful that my mom had excellent health care. I was grateful that my mom was able to use that health care and that insurance to be in a hospice facility where she could be attended to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and where her family could be with her as well at the same time. I was grateful that my mom had all of those things, and I was grateful to be able to have the flexibility to be with her. And I don't know what I would have done if I wasn't sitting right next to her, holding her hand as she took her last breath. I would have never made it through that 7 weeks if there weren't nurses, right? And hospice workers and caregivers that would sit with my mom and paint her nails while I tried to send off a few quick emails so I could keep the thing going that I'm running. I don't know what I would have done without some of the caregivers that came and sang to my mom, that helped her hair right after her surgery when she had stitches from a shunt that they had to put in her brain. So those workers, those folks are angels. And unfortunately, because women in particular are natural caregivers, we're not paid for our work. And in a sector of care work or domestic work, it's seen as just being a part of the family, just something that women do, as opposed to skilled professional work that needs to be compensated at the highest levels, because it is the work that keeps our families whole and keeps our families and our loved ones living with dignity.
Definitely. I mean, because you don't want me being a caregiver. I can't help Yvette. I'll be like, what I do? He trained in this? You know me. You can't have your cousins. Cause that's what people think. Y'all got family members. Hey, no, you don't do that. Let's get the funds and, like you said, get trained, skilled people to help our loved ones. You know, April, can you talk about your experiences with caregiving and how it's impacted your life?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Look, I lead an organization of 400,000 caregivers, the workers that Alicia was just talking about. And I get to see every day firsthand how amazing these women are. And it's a few men, don't get me wrong, a few of them, but 67% of this workforce is women, and they are women of color. They are women that look like us, right? Caregiving workforce, 3 out of 10 are immigrants, and they are Black women and they are brown women. And let's just tell the truth about it. It's the work that enslaved women did, right, during that time. Black women have always been the caregivers in our society, right? We took care of the babies, we took care of the elderly, the infirm, people experiencing disabilities, and they didn't pay us for our labor, and they still don't want to pay us for our labor. The work that these women do the wages have been depressed, they have been devalued, demeaned, disrespected, diminished, because it's women's work, because it has been Black women and brown women's work. And we have been able to build a movement inside of our organization, SEIU, with the National Domestic Workers of America, with Caring Across Generations and others. And these women, they know their power. They are political force to be reckoned with. They help change the tide in places like Arizona and Georgia and Nevada, the places that made a difference in this last election. They were just 67% of the field operation that ensured Gavin Newsom is still the governor of California. These women know their worth, and they are no longer backing down from it. And so my experience with caregivers is all about power, right? And it's about the power of love, and we're standing in it and we're standing on it. And we are going to demand that there are real investments in us. We have the opportunity to have the first in a generation investment in the work of Black women, right? Of brown women, of immigrant women. And we are not going to stop fighting until we get our just due.
Pass the offering plate. That was amazing.
I want to what we need to do, Congressman, to get this bill passed.
I just wanted to. This is it. Everything that was just said is exactly what we need to do, and not to put a private conversation public, but that's why I called Alicia the other day. It's like I need those 40,000 to be contacting my colleagues in Congress on a daily basis, on the phone, via email, via letter writing. Come to Washington, occupy the Capitol steps. Let the White House hear from you. Let the Senate hear from you. Because we have to consolidate and wield that power. And you have support in Congress from people like myself and others. We have to force them to support you.
Child care providers are such a vital part of our economy. Those that are working in centers, those that are running centers, those that are running a small child care business out of their home. You deserve paid time off when needed.
For too long, caretakers in our country have given themselves fully, doing the hardest, most important work, caring for all of us, while not having the resources to care for themselves and their loved ones.
We need to make sure that every single woman has access to health care and that the sweat equity that they put into our community is paid for and returned by them being able to get access to health care when they need it the most.
Home-based care is so important, so vital to every aspect of our community and so many homes. Whether persons have disabilities or whether they are aging, we understand that this is an important linchpin in allowing economic growth in our state as well as our country.
Care can't wait because all children deserve quality care.
We need to make sure that our care workers receive what they need to live a sustainable life, and they can continue to take care of our loved ones. They need the benefits, they need the wages, they need to know we care. I'm advocating for them, and I'm encouraging you to do the same.
Black women and women of color have fought to save this democracy over and over again while being on the front lines of a global pandemic. We need a care infrastructure, and that can't wait.
And, I really appreciate this conversation because it's going to open up a lot of eyes and it's also going to help a lot of people. And you all are in the caregiving space, you're caregivers. My last question to each of you, because you all are so magnificent, is what are you doing to care for yourself?
One way I take care of myself is I pray every day. Every day. Second thing I do every day, if I can, is do some kind of moving of my body for 30 minutes, some kind of it. I just got a trainer because I was like, I'm lazy and I'm not consistent.
So is that exercise? That sounds like exercise.
It's exercise. And it's 7 a.m. No matter what I'm doing the day before, she coming over and she working me out.
I have found that turning my phone off is the best thing that I can do. I have been so silent in the last few months. Like I just haven't taken any calls. I haven't made any calls. I literally have just been listening for God to speak, doing something that just really takes your mind off of your life. Like I've been doing Lego sets. It's something that just makes my mind just go somewhere else where I'm not dealing with it. So I think it is important and it doesn't matter if anybody else gets it. That's the other part about it. When you're a caregiver, you spend so much time focused on another human being and their well-being. And those types of people usually focus on everybody else's well-being, right? Sometimes you got to pull back and just go, no, I'm going to put me first. The person I'm caring for, daddy's first. I'm second. My dog is 2.5. That's where I'm at right now.
I don't do nearly enough, but I do try to stay focused and pay attention to the grace in my life. Through this pandemic, I promised myself that I was going to focus on what I have and that I was going to focus on joy and abundance and the incredible grace that I know I personally experience and not allow negativity to fill my spirit. And so I try to stay focused on that because I have so much love and grace in my life and a tremendous amount to be grateful for.
What church you go to? Because I feel like I need to start going to the online services or wherever you talk to Jesus, because my Lord.
I just want to add quickly, like we have to be intentional about it, and that's what I heard in every answer. Like people were literally like choosing to do something that is going to be healthy and healing for ourselves in some way, shape, or form. No one said eating right, so I'll just add I try to eat right. Not always good at it, but try my best to get some vegetables and fruits in. Finally got back into the gym, so hopefully I could stick with it. It's been terrible with it for the last 20 years. And my wife forced me to take a vacation recently. She was like, stay in Washington this weekend. Don't come home because I don't even want to look at you right now. So because when that happened, I couldn't do the Codell and I did my vacation. So vacation, eat right, I've been able to do it. So I'm lucky.
A great big thank you to April Verrett, Alicia Garza, Representative Jamaal Bowman, and my girl, the fabulous Yvette Nicole Brown, for joining this deeply important conversation. Thank you to the National Domestic Workers Alliance and Caring Across Generations for facilitating this family meeting. I think it's something that everyone needed, and everyone needs to get this information. It's been so powerful to hold the space with all of you. And I'm going to take this back to my show and make sure we do a segment on it. So thank you all so much and have a wonderful day. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, family.
Thanks, Loni.
Peace and love.